Well, there was drama on day one of the Cosatu Federation's annual conference today when the ANC chairman and energy minister, Gwede Mantashe, took to the stage. He was prevented from giving his address by a group of unhappy delegates. Hamba Gwede, which means go Gwede, asina mali, we have no money. An embarrassing moment or a sign of a deeper rift between alliance partners. Let's speak now to Power to Truth anchor and political analyst, Professor JJ Tabane. JJ, thank you very much for joining us. Let's talk first of all about Gwede Mantashe, the man. He's obviously our energy minister. It would have been really nice to hear what he was going to say if he would speak about the energy crisis. But he's also the ANC chair. But first and foremost, he's a union man. This should have been comfortable territory for him. A humiliating moment for him personally?
But it just shows that how much he has lost touch with his roots. His roots was that of being a unionist, somebody who understands workers' rights, aspirations, and so on. And so it would have been somebody that the workers would embrace. But it shows that that rift has grown. This particular incident was not a surprise. You would remember May Day incident in Rustenburg with the president being booed. If the president can be booed, I'm sure the next one would have been, if they had then analyzed what happened, they would then have avoided this one. Right? But it has many, many elements to it, including the fact that we have no intelligence to talk of, because if the intelligence knew what was going to happen, they would have advised him not to go there and cause an embarrassment for the ANC.
All right, so that's the personal embarrassment for the man, the union man. I want us to take a quick listen to what he said. Obviously, he was booed off stage. He then took a moment and then did speak to a few journalists. And he seemed to reduce the issue to something that should have been dealt with at a bargaining council. Let's take a listen to what he said.
If workers are angry because of increases, that is a collective bargaining issue. If you want to make it an alliance issue, you are committing a mistake. It's not an alliance issue, it's a collective bargaining issue. And in the collective bargaining, there is leadership of workers and leadership of the employer. Actually, I wish I could join them. I'm 5 years now in government. I've never got an increase. So, but I don't demonstrate this way. Okay. All I'm saying is that there are formal structures which have nothing to do with the political setup. They are technical. They are structures that are meant by bureaucrats, and bureaucrats must do their work in those structures. The bargaining council is not managed in the Congress. It's not managed in the Tool House.
This is not an alliance issue. Is he right?
No, he's not right, and he knows that. You understand? Politicians like to speak in folk tongues, and Gwede has managed the art of speaking in folk tongues. We're talking about somebody who should be fired long ago for being mentioned in the state capture report. He's playing for touch because he wants to retain his post as ANC chairman. So the issue of him being mentioned for corruption with Bosasa and so on would be at bay, because by the time you get to the ANC Congress, the matter will still be sort of kicked for touch, right? Secondly, if you rewind just 15 years ago with him in front of workers marching, he wouldn't give an excuse that workers didn't get what they want because of bureaucrats. In fact, he would have said, we need to be in power so that we can sort out the bureaucrats, so they don't give an excuse or a bureaucratic excuse why workers shouldn't get the increase that they want. So we're talking about a man who has completely lost touch. He earns close to 2 million rand as a minister, and then he's talking about an increase. Increase for what? When a country there's depressed energy, chaos that is making the economy be depressed, he should be the last one to talk about an increase.
Does today's display mark a change? Because we have seen Cosatu unhappy with the ANC in the past, but come the elections, Cosatu's there right by their side in the tripartite alliance. And certainly if you listen to Zingiswa Losi, she doesn't pull her punches that the ANC has work to do, but she's still in support. So do you think that what happened on the floor will have any material bearing on Cosatu's stance come 2024?
Yeah. Hopefully it should, but as we're saying, we are thankful for small mercies. If the workers themselves now, not their leaders, but the workers must distinguish, because between the anger of the workers themselves and the leaders who may stand to benefit from an ANC that gets into power, either through future cabinet positions or things of that nature, largesse, patronage, etc., something that doesn't trickle down to the actual workers of Cosatu. So we're talking here about a sea change, because you will not have prevailed over the workers on May Day not to boo at the president. You can say whatever you like as a leader. And the president of Cosatu, even there, tried to do that, right? Today they expressed their anger once again. One hopes that that anger will translate into Cosatu beginning to do, first of all, proper introspection about what their role is in the alliance. Far from what God is saying, it's an alliance issue. It shows an alliance that's fractured, but maybe that's correctly fractured. Because that's what I'll be talking about tonight, to say, if you look at what comrades like to say, dialectical materialism, you can't just continue on a straight line. You can't, after 30 years of an alliance that has produced 55% poverty, 75% youth unemployment, 12 million people going hungry, say, oh, no, let's just continue the straight line. You've got to do something radical to change that. And that's why in dialectics is called, the struggle of opposites. We don't see that happening enough. So we need them to negate one another in order for the country to actually move in a different direction faster, because what's happening now in the country is actually a time bomb.
What's more important to Cosatu? What's more useful for them? The ongoing support and membership fees of their workers, or the alliance?
Like I'm saying, if you analyze dialectically, the alliance is standing still. If anything, it's causing a regression. In other words, if you just take a rewind of 20 years ago, when Cosatu coughed, the country caught a cold. These days, when the Cosatu coughs, they just laugh. The government just laughs at them. Kwede comes there and says, oh, no, it's about the employer, as if he's not part of that employer.
And yet, Zingiswa Losi, she's been confirmed for a second term. No one's standing against her. So they're clearly happy with her leadership, or are they?
Well, look, right now, if you look at the voting patterns in the country, right, you would say that people are happy with the ANC. You wouldn't say that, because there seems to be sometimes a divorce between the performance of leaders and the election outcome.
And yet you'd at least see someone trying to contest against Zingiswa Losi. I mean, look at all the people vying to contest against the president come December.
Yeah, well, which is a healthy thing, because
exactly.
That's what you need.
We didn't see that in Cosatu.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't need us to proceed in a straight line.
Right.
If Cosatu is serious about change in a way that they relate to the ANC, they have to change even their leadership. Right? I like Zingiswa Losi a lot, and maybe they are comfortable in her leadership. And maybe the noises she has made recently are giving them hope. For example, her marching against the ANC at his own policy conference, her speech there alongside the secretary of the SACP, it's showing fractures within the alliance, that the alliance is no longer going to be at all costs. I know that they have said this before, that they don't want to give the ANC a blank check and so on. Yeah. But I think it's coming to a point where now they're going to implement that and say, unless you give us something to give back to our workers, unless you stop with the terrible legislation you're trying to pass against workers, unless as an employer in government you can give us the increases we want, then we're not going to give you the vote.
Yeah, and you make such an important point that this is now two incidents. It's what happened in Rustenburg on May Day with the president getting booed.
Absolutely.
And now Gwede Mantashe. So things are starting to crack a little. You've got your show coming up at 8 o'clock. Is this going to be your main focus?
Yes, anti-alliance rant. To start
we love your
show.
rants.
And then we're going to talk about black economic empowerment in the insurance industry.
Oh.
Is this happening? Is that, and we're going to be talking to the CEO of what is called 360 Life, which is one of the biggest black insurance companies that have been whipped by what is called the Prudential Authority, and therefore have the question mark based on them. But apparently they're not the only one. Several industry players in that arena are not able to make headway because of either the unfavorable legislation or just an anti-black sentiment in as far as business is concerned. So we'll talk about that, a serious issue we haven't tackled in a long time on the show, but tonight it's 10.
And of course, we've got another week of load shedding. I can't let you go without asking about that. I mean, it is just astonishing. The president, in his letter this morning, saying, look, it's here to stay for a while. There's no quick fix. Yeah. Do you think
that's
we should
the most honest thing he has said?
I was going to say, should we at least laud him for that?
As opposed to what he said 2 years ago, that load shedding will be a thing of the past. I don't know who advises these people to say such things. The reality here is that the damage to the infrastructure has been long coming. There was poor investment during the previous administrations, and so it's going to take time to fix it. But the question is, are the people in place to fix it the right ones? And I think that's a big question that we have to face. There are lots of calls for the current board to be fired. I don't buy that, because that's what we did 2 years ago. In fact, the Losi, interestingly, at the rally some 2 or 3 years ago, said the whole board must be fired, and Jawu Mabuza, and may his soul rest in peace, must be fired along with everybody. You know, nobody listened to that. And maybe it's time they now, thought again. I'm not sure whether we fired the whole board now and the management.
It's very interesting because
back to square one.
I spoke to Prof Alex van der Heerfer about exactly this issue earlier from a corporate governance point of view, and he was explaining there's an inherent weakness in how the fact that the state-owned entities, basically the key shareholder is a minister. It puts too much power, and it creates problems in how the board and management function. He believes there's a structural problem there, but he believes it'll create even more instability if we just clear out everyone. So it's a really tricky one.
I'm not sure why we're not talking PPPs where ESCOM is concerned, because once you have a serious private partner to partner with government, then maybe to reduce the power that the minister can just hold sway, because then they have to share that power with another shareholder. It may be, because we are now all grabbing at straws to say what could fix this. Is it a governance issue, or is it a technical engineering issue, or is it a combination of the two? And I think we're still all searching for answers.
Yeah, and
so I'm sympathetic in a sense, because the Mantashe seems completely clueless about what to do. Pravin Gordhan's big problem is lack of accountability. So I have to assume in my corner that his arrogance towards us not wanting to come and account applies when even experts could advise him, to be able to say, this is what you need to be doing. Shouldn't we be looking at our BRICS friends? Or are they just fair weather friends? Surely there are experts in China, in India, somewhere, who could be mobilized to come and help our experts here to do something. I don't know. I don't have answers.
Know, and there's so much to talk about. And you've raised some really important issues. I'm going to let you go and prepare for your show at 8 o'clock. Thank you very much for coming in to chat to us. Much appreciated. That's Power to Truth anchor, Professor JJ Tabane.